In order for it to be valuable, it doesn't always have to be like 50-50 where you get exactly the same thing. You can decide to do things like have referral fees or a referral structure. Some people can think, doesn't that, maybe make it more transactional when you're doing it? To me, it's not. When you've really had the time and the experience to see this is really a great fit, you're providing benefit to them by essentially just delivering them leads, and vice versa. It can just be a way that you both ensure that you get some financial, return from it. And there's good value. When certain people hear it, and we know there can be judgment, especially for our competitive folks who are listening, who are like, what are we talking about here? Collaboration. But really, in a lens of thinking about how it is that you're setting up, you're orienting yourself towards work. I call it empire culture. So we actually use empire building words when we talk about building a business. I want to crush my competitor. I'm building an empire without really thinking about it. If we look a little bit historically at what empires have done, they've been super great for a few people at the very top, really not so great at most other people that are like underneath the wheels of the tanks that are rolling in, right? Or in the old days, the stone wheels. So there is a point of view of domination, of having one person who's really at the center, more of a right and wrong. And we tend to use more transactional language often when we're talking about our audience or clients. So we'll talk about fans and followers, um, uh, users, conversions. You've probably been backstage like I have, where you might have somebody really dynamic and compelling on stage who's just emoting emotion. And then they get back and they're like, what did I close? How many people are taking out their credit cards? Again, money is awesome. Love money, love to win. But there can just be a little bit of a different vibe when you're thinking about empire culture. It is strategically, depending on the type of business that somebody is in. Typically, if it's a service business where, coach, consultant, expert selling your services, that there are key areas there in the 10 segments of the ecosystem wheel. And that can be things like associations that are made up of groups of people that could fit within your ideal audience. Associations is sort of a supercharged area for a lot of people, where, let's say, you create a core webinar and you're selling to, you know, I don't know, accountants or something like that, right? Like there's so many different, there's probably the American Association of Accountants and the International Association, and each one has a chapter. So you can create very copy paste kinds of ways of getting in front of people. And often when you're really successful in a local area or a region, it's easier for you to get a national stage. The associations have done a great job at really, aggregating lots of people together. So there's core areas like that, or products. I am a big fan of software companies that create conferences. Another shout out to Kit, because they have done so much work and they often have more resource in order to be finding that exact right stage of person. And it's also, you see, there's something about the vibe. You're like, why does it feel so good when I'm at this conference? It's because they have thought about things like, who are the people who are going to be the most exciting for others? So some of the super sections of the ecosystem map really are related to people who have done a great job, one to many, at like doing some of that strategic work for you. A couple things. One of them is, look at it like any other relationship you have in your life. So friendships or any kind of, romantic partnership you have, that it takes time, energy, and attention. And I think what a lot of people really want is to know that you care about them, that you're thinking about them, you have regular communication. And that is something on the business side that you want to plan for. So make sure that you have regular touch points in which you're connecting with them. Very specifically, if you have, I remember the old days of Twitter, as my client called it, where I'm no longer on the platform, but in the old days, like I remember you could create your short lists of like people that you, making lists of people you can follow. I'm not sure if you can do that on LinkedIn. If not, we need to make them do that because that's so effective.